Namaste, everyone. Welcome to Indic Studies seminars from Toronto. Today we have Sandeep Singh ji with us. He has written 2 books on temple economics. The history of temples, as we know, and in the recent past also, a lot of attention has been given to temples, freeing temples, and we are finding old structures which were temples before, and the loot and the destruction of temples and the economics around it has been a focus of attention. And Sandeep ji has done quite a bit of work on it. He's a scholar. He has done a lot of research papers. He teaches in some institutes, and also he is an author now of multiple books. The latest being the Temple Economics, Volume 1 and 2. So I'll hand it over to you, Sandeep ji, and we'll look forward to listening to your research. Thank you.
Great. So shall I go ahead?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So namaste, everyone. I've just mentioned that I've written 2 volumes on temple economics. The first volume is known as Temple Economics Volume 1, and the second is A Decade for Mandir. So let me start. My first request to everybody nowadays is that should we call temple or we call it Mandir, Devalaya or Kovil in whatever language we want to. Because it's very important that we get the name correct. So the first thing is that Christians go to church, Muslims go to mosque, 2% of the world population Jews go to synagogue. And if you ask a Hindu where does he go, we end up saying temple. But what is a dictionary definition of a temple? So temple is where people collect together to worship. And second definition you'll find is a place of worship of pagans or pagans. That is a civilization which don't exist anymore. Now, that could be Mayan, Roman, Egyptian, any other. But Mandir is very different. In Mandir, we establish the Murti and then we invite the Bhagwan. Bhagwan ka ahvan karte hain, and when we do the Pran Pratishtha, then it becomes the house of Bhagwan or it's the abode of Bhagwan. Ki Bhagwan ka ghar hai. So we need to get the names correct. That's the first thing, and we should call it as a Mandir, Devalaya, or in Tamil, it's called Kovil, or whichever language one wants to. But we should get the name correct. Now, second point coming to is temple economics. What is temple economics? So generally, people confuse it with the temple revenue. We'll see that this temple has got so much of chadhava, or the rent that has come from their landed property. But that's just the revenue. Temple economy is something very big, and that is economy something which lets the city or the nation continue, survive, and grow. So just to give an example of it, Detroit in USA is considered as the city of modern industrial or modern industrial city because that's the place where the first time a car manufacturing started. But today, if you look, Detroit is a dying city. Its population is 1/4 of what it was today in earlier 20th century. The reason being very simple, that slowly people started manufacturing cars in Japan, Philippines, South Korea, India, in other nations, and it was much cheaper. And Detroit started dying. And that is true for any modern industrial product because there will be a replacement for it, or somebody will make it at a cheaper at a different place. So if you look for a ghost town, say in any industrial place, Europe, Russia, China, you'll get a huge list of cities which are ghost towns. But on the other hand, if you do some of the oldest cities where people have lived continuously over thousands of years, the 5 oldest cities that the name will come will be Pushkar, Ujjain, Patliputra, Rameshwaramji, and Kashiji or Varanasi. Varanasi is known as older than history. And if you notice that the cities don't have any industry, they all have is a mandir. But then economy is an important part of life. So how does the city survive? It's very simple. I'll just give one small industrial product example. Think of a sari. Some of the names of the sari that you can think of. It will be Banarsi, Kanjivaram, Dhakeshwari, Sambalpuri. So almost all saris originate from a mandir town or a temple town. And the design that is being on, you'll find on the sari is of the same petals or the flower which is being offered to the Devi there. So in a Banarsi sari, the design will be of the flowers and petals which are offered to Devi Parvati. And not only that, in many saris, in the fall that you see is the shikhar of the mandir or the gopuram, the top part, Vimana. And they, from whichever region the sari are weaved, they depict the shikhar of the mandir of that region. So that's a huge connect between the sari and the mandir town. And so wearing a sari is not only or wearing a product, it is something which is connected spiritually to Hinduism. And that is something, or Hindutva. And that is something which Portuguese were the first one to realize it. For 200 years that Portuguese ruled in uh, Goa, they put a ban on weaving and wearing of sari. The weavers used to weave the sari in the basement in the night, and women used to wear it only during the night. And imagine that this went on for 200 years, 10 to 12 generations, and that tells you the sacrifice our forefathers, our ancestors have made to keep these traditions alive. And that's how powerful the product coming out of a Mandir city is. And moving further, these are some of the oldest cities. What we mean by that, we are a living civilization. So people today live in Egypt, but initially there was Egyptian civilization. These people are not ancestors, are not the progenies of the same people. There's not a continuous chain of living being in Egypt. And the biggest example of that is that they cannot tell you why these pyramids were made or how those pyramids were made. They can't build a pyramid in a similar way. But in India, we have temples which are mandirs, which are older than 1,000 years, which are older than pyramids, like Brihadeshwara Mandir, and we can still build the same similar mandir in the similar fashion. We can build a similar mandir in the similar fashion because that knowledge has been passed down to us from generations to generation, our ancestor to ancestor, and that proves that we are a living civilization. And when I'm talking of Arthvavastha or economy, it's not again about only money. Arthvavastha or economy involves many things, including science. So just to tell you, if you look at the Bharat Mandapam at New Delhi, you will find that there is a huge Nataraj statue. At the CERN in Switzerland, we are doing a research on black hole. They have got a huge statue of Nataraj. Now, why CERN wants a statue of Nataraj? Because they are doing a research on black hole, and Nataraj statue represents the creation and destruction of the world. Now, that Nataraj statue is constructed using a method which is known as the lost wax technology. And that technology is used to make murtis for our mandir, and that is only 4,500 year old. And again, that knowledge has been passed down to us from generation to generation. And that's another example of us being the living civilization and the only living civilization in the world. And that one small Nataraj statue tells you many stories. Because Nataraj represents creation and destruction of the world, it means our ancestors had a full understanding of astronomy. And to have an understanding of astronomy, you need to have a great understanding of mathematics, specifically zero and the place value system of decimals. Just imagine if I asked you to write 1,05,067 in Roman script, how difficult it will be. And that's why one of the reasons Roman could not do much in terms of navigation, because you can't do navigation if you don't understand astronomy. In India, it was exactly the opposite because our understanding of mathematics was so strong. And like we talk about World War I and World War II, there is a similarly what we know as Maths War I and Maths War II. So it took Europe almost 500 years to accept the concept of zero. Now we often use zero every day, but how many times have you thought of the philosophically? Does zero mean it's empty or it includes 1 to 9? And that is something with the church grappled. And if church couldn't understand science, Europe couldn't accept it. And then moving further, what is known as Maths War II is their understanding of infinity. Now, infinity is again, integral calculus is again understanding from zero to infinity. So they couldn't figure out infinity also, and they took it them another 500 odd years. Why I'm talking to you in a lecture on temple economy? because the oldest inscription of zero is found in a mandir in Gwalior. So our mathematics, our science evolved around the mandir, and that is why one of the reasons we were so ahead. And obviously, when you look at the construction of a mandir, it involves huge amount of astronomical calculation, starting from east-west direction to the huge construction that you see that on a particular day out of 365 days at a particular hour, the sun rays will fall on the feet of the Devi or a Devta. So obviously, it needed a huge understanding of mathematics, trigonometry, geometry. Now coming back to Nataraj statue. Nataraj statue represents many things. One, it tells what is the huge understanding our ancestors had about the cosmos. And if you have to understand the relationship between the physics and cosmos and Nataraj statue, you can read a book called Tao of Physics by Friedrich Capra, or you can watch Cosmos series by Carl Sagan. So our ancestors had a wonderful understanding of creation and destruction of world. Our artists had understanding that huge construction discussion can be presented in a form of a simple murti. Third, they had understanding of lost technology. Fourth, they had understanding of metallurgy. So just as one statue or a murti of Nataraj tells us so many stories, and that tells you why our economy or Earth Vyavastha was dependent and revolved around the mandir. Now, one question will come after this, or we hear normally nowadays is that क्या मंदिर से खाने को मिलेगा? Will mandir provide us the food? Well, actually in India it does. Uh, you know, nowadays if you go in India, you won't find our natural local vegetables or fruits. They are disappearing very fast. Specifically, tomato, potato, cauliflower, or cabbage are not the vegetables of Indian origin, and they have survived just because in mandirs like Jagannath Puri or Mathura, only Indian vegetables and fruits are used as a part of prasad. Otherwise, they would have disappeared. If you go in a market in Bombay, very rare to find Indian variety of fruits today. And not only this, when Britishers came to India, you would have heard of this chickpea, cowpea. That's how they named. Because for them, they could understand rice and wheat. Chana dal and all those things they could not relate, and they thought that it is fit for eating for animals, and hence the name. And we have imbibed everything what Britishers told us. So the millets became the course meal. Even our government document write that, and we stopped eating them. And today government is promoting millet. So how did this cowpea or chickpea survive? Because the chana dal is essential to make besan, which is offered as a prasad in the form of a laddu in the mandir. So our most of flora and fauna have survived in this country because of the mandir. There was a time when you had lakhs of varieties of rice. Today, very few of them survive. And MS Swaminathan Research Foundation finding says that in Orissa, only those varieties of rice survive today which are offered to Bhagwan Jagannath. Rest have disappeared. Now just look at if government has to preserve this seed, what they will do. They'll have to create something called Indian Council for Agriculture Research, and then they will try and create a big couple of kilometers down in Leh, create a freezer, and then try to preserve all the flora and fauna that we have, the seeds of all the vegetable, fruits, everything. But then our temples had a unique system. And also the Gopuram, the Shikhar, that part you see, what today we see is an hollow and empty. That was the place where all the seeds were preserved, and every 20 years they were changed. So the idea was that if the flood comes, still at such a height the Gopurams are, that the seeds will be preserved. So yes, our mandir did provide us all the food that we can think of. Now, moving to the next part of it, we often hear is that if should we build a mandir or a school or a college. So if you build a school or a college, they may not be built many school and college after that. But if you build a mandir, they build many schools and colleges. And if you look at around the mutts in India or any city, you will find they are running many school and colleges which are being operated by mandir. I'll just give one example of a mutt from Karnataka. My pronunciation may not be perfect. Sri Tarala Balu Jagat Guru Brihan Mutt. They run 79 high schools, 15 pre-university colleges, 7 vocational courses, 3 D.Ed college, 5 degree college, 1 B.Ed college, 1 B.P.Ed college, 1 polytechnic, 1 engineering college, one Sanskrit and Ved Pathshala, one nursery school, 12 primary school, 2 CBSE school, 57 hostels, and there are other institutes which they run. Destitute homes 8, Anganwadi Training Center 1, Religious Center 11. So this what one mandir can run. And so that is putting that whether we get the food, second, we got the clothes, third, we get our school and colleges coming out of temples. Now, moving to further, there was there's a temple town known as Palani in Tamil Nadu. And again, early 19th century, they started school for blind. Before anywhere we could think of creche, they had a system of creche where the people working in the mandir could keep their kids. And not only that, Nadeshwaram, that musical instrument, is alive today because of that mandir. They initiated giving scholarship to people who wanted to learn it. So our mandirs have preserved almost every facet of life that we can think of. And there is no area which is left untouched by our mandir. And after this, I'll move to another interesting part of our temple economy or mandirs that we talk of is Tirth Yatra. Today, Tirth Yatra is being converted into religious tourism, and there is a huge difference between the two. We'll often find that when what government is also promoting religious tourism. So I'll give an example. What happens? People will say, "Oh, this weekend we have got 3 days. Actually, there's a Friday is a holiday or a Monday is a holiday." So they will decide that fine. Let me fly to Kashiji. They book a ticket, land up, go stay in a 5-star hotel. So obviously, if it's a 5-star hotel, there will be a pub. So they will go have a drink. They will sleep. Now they get up morning. They have the money. They go for a VIP darshan, and then click some pictures, take a flight back home, and next day holidays they are posting pictures on social media. And after doing this for 4 years, they will say that I have been going to this temple for 4 years, but nothing spiritual I'm feeling. But the fact is that you have done the social media tourism, you have not done the Tirth Yatra. Tirth Yatra is something very different. People go there with patience, you stand in the queue, you interact with people who have come from different part of the country, and you learn about different facets of the culture. If you go to our old mandir, you will find that there are different pictures. Nowadays, you've got to see Ramayana, Mahabharata in a televised format. Otherwise, those pictures on the wall used to tell all the stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata. Then one used to do the darshan and then sit with the Pandit ji or the Pujari there and do satsang. And there he can used to ask those questions that he has in mind, which today he looks for searching for those answers in WhatsApp and social media and takes gyan for people who don't understand anything about Hindutva. So the idea was to spend time and whatever questions you interact with the Pujari, understands about Dharma, Mandir, and you come back enlightened. But now those things have changed. And the second part is that the VIP darshan. So who is a VIP? Anybody who pays 500,000, 2,000 rupees has become a VIP, but that's in my definition, he or she is not a VIP. VIP is something called Maharaja Ranjit Singh, who said, I'll cover the whole mandir with gold. So those are the people who should be considered VIP, or the person who is VIP is who have 4 or more kids. As a Hindu, they have done some service to Hindu community. The mother has taken the pain to give birth to 4 kids. The father has taken the responsibility to give them a good livelihood. So they, in today's term, they are the VIP people. And am I against 5-star hotel in Tirthan? No, I'm not. It is just that our 5-star hotel need to adopt to our dharmic bhavna or what our feelings are. So just to give an example, when a 5-star resort is operated in a beach, they will not have a carpet in their room because when a guest comes back from the sea beach, he'll carry a lot of sand, if not all over his body, at least in his legs, and they'll spoil the carpet. And hence they don't do keep the carpet in a beach resort. So they adopt to the local condition. So similarly, if a 5-star hotel is being operated in a Tirthan or a dharmic place, they should not be serving liquor. They should have a Panditji or a Pujari who should do a satsang and explain the meaning of different scriptures. And that's something which we Hindus need to demand for that modification, and I'm sure the hotels will agree to it. So those are the few things that we need to bring important changes uh, in our system. Another part of the mandir, very important aspect is flowers. So how and what do they contribute, and why are they so important for our puja? So economically speaking, I'll just tell you, give you a figure that for the first day decoration of the gates at Vaishno Devi on Navratra, flowers worth 9.5 crores go from Gazipur Mandi from New Delhi. But when you're talking of flowers, we need to talk about jasmine flower, and obviously it is connected to Madurai Meenakshi's Mandir. Madurai Malagi, that is what is known as. Now, jasmine flower is grown all over the country. So why jasmine of Madurai is so famous? And now that's something very scientific about it. The soil contains a huge amount of sulfur in and around Madurai. So when flowers grows with a sulfur soil, the petals are are what you call more thick. So a thick petal means it contains a high amount of moisture, and that it means is that it will be fresh for a longer period of time. And not only that, the jasmine flower in Madurai flowers at a late evening, unlike other places. So again, it's another reason that it remains for a longer hour fresh next day in the morning. And not only that, we have seen that jasmine is used by women to put it on their hair, because jasmine has two, three qualities. It helps in reducing the stress, and second, it helps you uh, keep away from headache, and it provides nutritional value to the hair, and that is precisely why it is used and it is recommended to be used. And it is a much better way of using jasmine flower than taking it to a factory, pushing it through all the machines, and taking out oil off of it and then use it. And what is the price and how does it support the economy? In December 2021, jasmine flowers sold at a price of rupees 4,000 per kg in Madurai. Because today it's being exported to mandirs all over the world. Wherever there are mandirs, they ask for jasmine flower from Madurai. So it contributes huge amount of uh, to the economy, as well as maintaining the environment and the flora and fauna of the country. So these are some of the various aspects of the mandir that I wanted to share with you all. Coming to the end part, I don't know how much time I have left to. So coming to the last
You
part of
have
it,
another 20 minutes, Sandeep.
Achha, or 20 minutes. Oh,
20
wonderful.
minutes, half an hour is fine. Just go ahead, go ahead.
Okay.
I'll remind you.
Okay. And coming to the second part was talking to is that what we need to do about the mandir. We have been talking about a lot of literature goes on. People keep talking that we need to do this, we need to do that. But I say is that we need to define what basic minimum things we can do. Before coming to that, why government should be in mandir? That discussion is all around in Bharat, and I'm sure all around Hindus also. And some of the people come back with the argument that if the government goes out of the mandir, who is going to control it? Now, the issue is that the mandir, this government is only 75 years old. The mandirs in our country are 1,000 years old or maybe older than that. So who was managing those mandirs for rest of the 900 odd years, 925 years odd? The people. And these mandirs have faced worse kind of invaders, and they've stood by because the people, the community took care of it. So and the second answer is like also when British used to tell that if you leave India, who is going to manage India? Indians will destroy it. But today, there are Indians who are managing Britain and other countries in the world. So we need to have a huge amount of trust our own people and not question that who is going to manage it. The community has always stood whenever there has been a problem with a mandir. And another question comes is that people are very uh, uh, eager to point fingers at pujaris and brahmins. Mandir mein chori hoti hai, they will take away the money. And I believe that these are the people who might not have given a single penny ever in the mandir. Because the devotee, when he goes to a mandir, he gives the money and he forgets about it. And we just can't blame the pujaris or the pandits. They have made huge amount of sacrifice in this country, And because of them, this mandir stand today. The Gyanvapi mosque, it is well documented that the pujari jumped in the well with the shivling. And all over South, we have such record. And pujaris have made huge amount of contributions. There were pujaris who had revolted against the British, and there were 52 pujaris were hung by the Britishers because they had revolted against them. And their bodies were kept hanging there for months altogether so that the other pujaris will be scared of revolting against the British. So we just need to go back and start giving respect, the due respect which is due to the pujaris. We had a traditionally a very strong system of managing accounts in the mandir. And you'll be surprised that the system is still followed. So there was a system that once in a year, Pujari will read out the book of accounts to the Bhagwan as well as to the devotee in a full public display. And that practice still followed today, even in Jagannath Puri Mandir, though they don't have the latest balance sheet. Government hasn't audited them for a very long time. So obviously they can't share. But the old balance sheet, whichever era they have, they ritually read it once every year. So we had a great system of keeping books of accounts in the mandir by the pujari. So that is one aspect that we need to keep in mind. Second, our mandir has to become the first source place where people should go when they are in trouble. Mandir should be the first place of refuge. And I experienced it very differently. Once I landed up at a mall before it has opened up. So I was waiting when it will open up because I had to get my specs repaired. And there was a lady sitting there and she was talking on phone to somebody and I overheard it. She had left her home, or rather her husband's home, in the last night, and she thought mall is the safest place because there was a light and a security man. I wondered why she could not think of the mandir. So mandir used to be the first place of refuge for any Hindu. That we lost that tradition somehow over a period, and that's something we need to revive. Mandir have to be a very important place. Mandirs used to be the nucleus of the society, and over a period that we have lost them. Today, we find that people, Hindus who are fighting court cases, they run out of money, while the opposite parties, they have a huge amount of money. And those money are being offered to them, or they can hire a huge expensive lawyer because their religious places fund them. And they could do it because those religious places, money is in control of those religious communities, except Hindus. Our money, which we have given it for the fellow Hindus, to be routed to the mandir, is today in government's control. And when a fellow Hindu wants to use that money, he is deprived of that opportunity. And he keeps losing cases and all kind of cases. So that is something is another aspect of it, that why mandir must be freed from the government control and they must come back in the control of Hindu society so that their money can be used for the welfare of the Hindu society. The third part, mandirs need to be a lot more friendly to the bhakts. Specifically, if anyone wants to, we have in India huge mandir, they have a space. If somebody wants to start small scale business, let's say start teaching dancing or a painting, the mandir needs to provide them that platform. The birthday celebration should be done in the mandir, and not only the people who can afford it. Anyone who lives around the mandir who is poor, his or her birthday should be celebrated by the mandir. Otherwise, when we see that when the mandir is being broken, people around their stand keep watching it, but they don't come to fight to protect it because they are not connected to it. They don't belong to that. They don't feel belong to that mandir. So that mandir's connect with the community is broken. And again, the reason goes back that it is under the government control. And any activity that a pujari or a mandir will like to do, the government or government representative will not allow them to take it. So it helps them to kind of alienate the mandir from the bhakts. And that is something has gone to an extreme end. So that needs to stop at the earliest. Now comes what I keep saying, that it doesn't matter we are small or big, rich or poor, male or female, young or old. We must all of you collectively dedicate our next 10 years of our life to Mandir. And we must decide, it doesn't matter whether we are 70 years or 20 years, we should give next 10 years. If collectively all Hindus can give 10 years of their life to the Mandir, things will start changing drastically. And the least amount of thing that a Hindu can do of many things is that must start visiting the mandir every day. All Hindus don't do even that. We don't visit mandirs every day. Just by doing that, there could be a lot of change in the society, in the community, in the country for the mandir and in the personal life. And I'll end with this one small example that there was a British officer, again in Madurai. His house was in the one end. He has to cross Mandir to go to his office. So every day when he used to cross Mandir, even though he was a British, he will take off his hat, bow his head to the goddess, and go to his office or home on both ways. On one night, it was raining heavily. He heard the pious sound of a young girl. He came out of his room looking for that small girl. The girl ran out of his house. He chased the girl. The moment he came out of his house, the lightning struck his house and the house was completely destroyed. But he survived. And he concluded that it was the Devi which came, and that's how his life was saved. And then he donated a silver or a gold slipper in the near mandir. So that is how God comes to help you when you want it the most. You may or may not realize it. So visiting a mandir every day is a very important aspect of our life, and we must go back to that. And with this, I'll stop here and look for a question.
Thank you, Sandeep ji. Excellent talk. I think the topic is of extreme relevance today. And I know the Free Temples movement is going on, and you guys are working really hard to get temples out of the government clutches. It's
Yeah.
been looted for too many years. And as you exactly said,
Yes,
the money is for the community, not for the government to loot. And,
correct.
So the audience, thank you all for attending. So if you have any questions, you can type in chat or raise your hand in the Zoom menu. It's in the React menu at the bottom, and you can ask yourself. Until people are thinking about questions, Sandeep ji. So what is going on with the Free Temples movement? And all the I know it's been going on. Sai Deepak ji and yourself are involved in it. So any progress from the government side? Just a quick update, if you have any.
Uh, Actually, there is no progress on the government side as of I know, but the ground movement is getting stronger. VHP has given a nationwide call. From January, they are starting a huge movement across the country. From Vijayawada, Vijayawada, if I remember correctly, they'll be starting that free temple movement. And the other aspect is that I keep trying to warn people that we shouldn't harm too much on temple revenue. That we see everybody talking about, that this mandir has so much of money, this mandir has so much of money. There are a couple of things that how it works negatively. One day, government will start sitting with a list. This mandir is profitable and this mandir is not profitable, and they'll start destroying this mandir. And second, again, as I said, uh, is that we look at the mandir which are very prominent. But in this country, in Bharat, we have mandirs spread over all over the country. There are mandirs in dense forest on hills, and when you go that, you will find a pujari or a pandit or a brahmin is there doing puja. He gets up in that dense forest and a high hill in a high winter at 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. every day to do puja. He's a single person doing it, like day after day for years, because he has been sent there by his guru from one of the hhas to manage that mandir. And that aspect is often forgotten. And this whole craze for temple economics, the money that has come, has pushed us to run mandirs like a business house. And that's how we have got a tender for everything. And anybody who has managed a cow will understand that you can't have a ghee at 350 rupees per kg. But that tender was accepted at Tirupati Mandir, and we know what kind of ghee was being offered there. So too much of uh, money centric view from mandir has to be removed. We have to go back to the bhakti part of it, and money coming out of mandir is just a byproduct. Now, why I was using many time Arth Shastra. So, Arth Shastra is very different from economy. The word GDP was coined only in 1930 because that's how after that the Western world started making money. But before that, there was a money, but there was no need to measure it. It was a part of the wealth. And in our country or in our Hindutva, dharma and earth go together. So what is it that earth is bounded by the factor called dharma? So what is the problem with the GDP? It doesn't see good or bad. Whichever way money is coming, it is good. So I've quoted IMF report in my book. IMF is worried that some of the European nations don't report the exact contribution coming out of prostitution to GDP. Now, how can that be considered as a part of economy? So that's where the Arthashastra is different. For us, we don't, what we write profit as labh, not only as a labh, but what we write is a shubh labh. It has to be auspicious profit. So खून चूस के कमाया हुआ पैसा is not acceptable. You know, the money that come out of greed. So अर्थ का अनर्थ हो जाता है. And as I say, there is a very thin line between shubh labh and lobh. So mandir has to be looked from the pure adhyatmic, spiritual point of view and a bhakti point of view, and not from the money making scheme. Otherwise, it leads to destruction of everything that we have.
That is very true.
Yeah.
That is very true. But how will the in your view, I know I'm talking of economics alone here.
Yeah.
How will
Yeah.
the temple management or the pujaris or whoever, whichever committee which is taking care of the temples promote this ecosystem you talked about, flowers and murti making and the engineering behind it and all that? They need to promote all this, right? In each temple.
Correct. So that's why I said
How
today we have
what's the
about
I'll give you an example. In Toronto also, like where we live here, we have literally over 100 temples in the city.
yeah.
It's
Okay.
like some are really big, like 20 or 15, 20 of them are huge, you know.
Oh.
So again, people go in, Mata Teko and all that, they do it, maybe offer some dakshina, maybe, and then and the temple runs. They get government grants and all that. But I don't see, just like India, right? I don't see any ecosystem there. Like, we have businesses listed, or in the temple we have to do this, and then we need, to build that ecosystem around it, helping hand. And they do have programs, but unfortunately, I think what happened, biggest challenge is to getting the right people to manage this and promote this and commit themselves to doing this. Then it will work, I think, in a few years.
Yeah. So there are two parts. So one is that, as I said, we need to connect more with the mandir. So I think we need to have a system or a place in a mandir where kids can go and celebrate their birthday. And anyway, till 8-year-old kids should not be stopped from going to any part of the mandir. So once they start visiting every day, that's one part. Second, there are a lot of handicraft, painting, dance. Those teaching should start happening at the mandir. Mandir should provide that space to people who want to offer that service. Second, third part, we may not find people to do it, full time. But as I said, if everybody decides to visit every day mandir or give 1 hour to mandir every week, things will start changing. And I think this is very easy. It's just that we haven't looked at it hard enough. And once we start doing it, things will start changing. We need to start connecting kids with the mandir from the childhood, not only just to go and matha teko there. Mandir is a lot more. Our art, our handicraft, our dance, our music, our literature, everything has originated. Our weapons, our science, everything, our agriculture, everything comes out of mandir, and it needs to go back to that. We need to build that connectivity again.
Sorry, Dipankarji, please go ahead.
Namaste, Sandeep ji. I
Namaste.
really enjoyed your presentation, and I
Thank you.
appreciate Indic Canada holding this sort of thing. They're very informative. But my question is, uh, we should there be a definition of mandirs? I come from Calcutta, and I have seen there are many places they build up a small structure and do some pujas, like Shani Ji ke puja, and just on the roadside. And corporations come, and I've seen them being broken down also. And they really become a obstruction to the roadways. So, should there be a definition of mandirs, or what can be construed as a mandir?
Okay. Wherever there is Bhagwan, it's a mandir. Your problem is different. Your problem is that people build mandir anywhere and everywhere, and that creates problem to others. Now you have to go back to the root of it to give a solution or to get a solution of it. From a very long time, our mandirs have been in government control. How to do puja in many places, government decides it. So what option people are left with? And in the town planning, mandir is often left. They don't think that Hindus need a place of worship. So there is an inherent problem in our secular model of government after independence that we have. If those things would have been planned properly, this scenario would not have evolved. I'll tell you, I've stayed in Bombay till 2004, and I'll tell you exact year also. Till 2004, the ads will come in the newspaper that this building is housing complex is being constructed. It has a Ganesh Mandir, it has a Jain Mandir, it has a Durga Mandir. After 2004, it stopped completely because somewhere in the background, the government was trying builders put pressure on builders not to build mandir. And today that trend is back again. Now I see again those ads coming back. The new housing societies are being built, and they are being built with the mandir. So it will not provide space to a Hindu to build mandir. He's going to build his mandir wherever he gets space. And our view might be differ, but I think it is his country, and if he's not allowed to build mandir, it is his right to build wherever he wants. Until unless government gets serious about it and starts providing space for it.
So this mandir ecosystem, so it's a very good eye-opening talk, Sandeep ji. This topic has been around, but I think you have laid it out very systematically. So let us see if we can go around in at least in Toronto where we live, most of us here. So I think in the temple also there is lack of education around this topic. They do
Yeah.
not, because mandirs, pujari have their roles. Pretty much they are dependent on the management. There is something called
Yeah.
management here. And
Yeah.
pujaris, unfortunately, are subservient to this
Correct.
management. And they are, paid employees, and which is, it's very
Yeah.
small. Whatever money
Yeah.
they get, they have to survive too, right? Their families.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. So we have one more question. Tulsi ji, please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. The talk was very, very nice, and it gave me a lot of insights into it. And I'm a student of temple management now from Mumbai University. So,
Okay.
so I would like to know. So, what are the initiatives as we have to do to take out the powers of the government on the temples actually, and what is the current status to it? Thank you.
See, I think there are a lot of court cases are going on, and you must understand that it doesn't come directly under purview of central government. Mandirs are controlled by state government, and that is something where our anger or effort should be focused on, and that is a very important aspect of it, and that is something is often missed. So people have to get more aggressive. The local people have, as I said. As I give the example that why people who stay around the mandir are not vocal about government getting out of mandir is because the mandir is no more connected with them. They just come, do puja, and go back. If there is not a mandir there, they'll go to another mandir. So that mandir has to build that connect with the people who stay in their surroundings. And that part, something has been broken, and we need to go back and repair it. And there is a question also I think I saw. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah. So
Yes,
one
sir.
more question
Yeah.
should there be a
Dress
code
code.
of conduct and dress code around the temples? I know it's not related to economics, but yeah. So
No,
should
no,
we
no.
adopt
It
something?
is. I gave you the example of sari.
Right.
All our textile come out of mandir. So I'll tell you that if you look at Mathura, Krishna ji, uh, there are two aspects of it. So in winter, the clothes of the deity changes everywhere. In the summer, it again changes. In rainy season, they wear different. So all those textile innovation has come essentially from the mandir because it was needed for the deity. So, and I firmly believe that there should be a firm dress code in all our mandir, and the dress code is for the respective region. So, like in Kerala, they have a different dress code. In North, it could be a different dress code, and it must be followed strictly. And it's not a regional chauvinism or or any kind of thing being forced, because there is a lot of science many times involved, and it is connected with the local ecosystem. And those textiles need to survive. If we remove them, then they will be removed. And I was talking of sari. I'll tell you how our culture is getting appropriated, and everything related to mandir is also getting appropriated. So there was a time when Portuguese had put a ban on weaving and wearing of sari. Then Mother Teresa exploited it beautifully. And you will be surprised, and some of you may be shocked to know that that white sari with that blue border is today patented by missionaries of charity. And if an Indian woman or Hindu woman wears that design of a sari, she is expected to pay royalty to missionary of charity. So in front of our eyes, our things have been taken away. So it's very important that the dress code should be there in all mandirs, because it's not being, being backward or something. It has many implications. It's a way of preserving our culture, traditional culture. And again, I must tell you that I wrote these two books. Some of you have asked, these are the two books. Uh, and if you don't get, you can write to me. You can share my email ID or a mobile number. That's perfectly fine. So why did I write these two books? So during COVID or a Chinese virus, two interesting things happened. One, the Tamil Nadu government said that all the mandirs in the state should submit X amount of crore to the state coffer. But I was surprised, neither the central government nor any of the state government had shortage of funds. But then Tamil Nadu government had to take back that order after a few Hindus went to the court. And the second thing I saw in COVID or Chinese virus, people walk. People walk from Bombay to Gorakhpur, which is by train at 1600 kilometers. By walking, it will be 200-300 kilometers more, because roads are not as straight as railway tracks. And people walked from Delhi, people walked from Madras, people walked from various places. And they not only walked alone, they took their wife, they took their kids, they, some took their parents, their luggage, and some of them they took their pet animals also. They walked all the way. So my lot of my friends who run marathon, couple of them in like many marathons in a year, I asked, will you walk that much of distance? They said no. But what did that guy the confidence that he can walk that 1,000 kilometers? He'll get a place to eat, he'll get a place to sleep, and nobody will harm his family. And which happened, barring few people dying in a road accident, unfortunately, everybody reached home safely. So where does that confidence came to him? Because he keeps walking. He is the guy who does the walking at Vaishno Devi. He is the guy who does the walking at Amarnath Yatra. He is the guy who does the Kamada Yatra carrying the huge amount of weight. He is the guy who does the Ganga Sagar Yatra. He is the guy who walks at Sabrimala. So he knows that it's my country and mandirs will be there, people will be there to support me, and I can walk down. So these are two reasons which forced me to write this book. So mandirs contribute to our civilization in many forms. And everything related to the mandir has to be preserved, because we still don't know how many ways they can come to rescue us at the time of need.
Very good. Anjali ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, namaskar. Yeah, it was a very interesting and very informative presentation. I had a quick question. Are there any rules governing as to who can build temples? Because we've heard of some rumors from people that there are sometimes a lot of corrupt people who, to hide their black money or whatever, they build temples and evade taxes. So is there any truth to that, theory?
See, you'll hear all kind of theories against the mandir, but it does signify one interesting thing. If someone has a black money, he builds a mandir. I haven't heard people building mosques and churches using black money. So I wonder why. Because they think that they'll get a good return on investment. Maybe that could be one of the reasons. And I often hear that some people think it to land grab, people build mandir. But practically, I have not come across. You must understand one aspect of it. Why do we visit one particular mandir? Because we believe that once we go to that mandir, whatever our wishes are get fulfilled. Any mandir which is built with a negative thought or a negative energy will not flourish. That's a very short thing. And a mandir flourishes because of the pujari who is there, who does puja. And a pujari or a Brahmin there becomes very important part of it. He builds that energy in the mandir by offering his prayer. And if I extend something more interesting to tell you is that we might have gone to a mandir as a kid for the first time, and our elders might have told us to fold our hands. We might have been told to bow our head, and we might have told this to young kids also. But after standing in the queue, when you reach in front of the Bhagwan or the Murti, we do something else also. Have you realized? We close our eyes.
Yes, I have great respect for the mandirs, but I was
No,
mentioning about these very
I,
small
yes,
structures, on the roadside,
yeah,
you see.
I'll
Sorry.
cover that. Yeah, I'll cover that. So what I was trying to tell you is that inherently we all know that God is inside us. That's why without anybody telling us, we close our eyes and we pray. Imagine I traveled from Bombay to Tirupati, stand in few hours, but when I'm in front of the Bhagwan, I'll close my eyes because I know Bhagwan is there inside me. So now building so many of small mandirs wherever people want, I think it's also very important to understand is that mandir is providing livelihood to some or the other pujari. That's why he's built it. So if Bhagwan is able to provide food and a livelihood to his family, I see nothing wrong in it. Because why is that pujari is forced to do it? Because government of India has taken over our mandir, has taken away the wealth, is not paying back the pujari the way it should be paying. And hence that pujari is forced to do what he is doing. So every mandir has a Agama Shastra and a Sthal Puran, which decides where the mandir can be built, how it has been built, and how a puja should be done. But we must understand that if we don't do this kind of thing, the mandirs may not survive in this country. I'll give you an example. When Aurangzeb was breaking mandirs in Kashi, he did two things. He said, kill all the Brahmins, and he said, break all the mandirs. So all the Brahmins had disappeared from Varanasi or Kashi. Then Brahmins from Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh went and settled there. The Gurukul was completely destroyed, and then the structure of Gurukul in Varanasi changed. And individual teachers started teaching in their own house because if they would have run Gurukul in a mandir, Aurangzeb would have come to know and he would have destroyed and killed the Brahmins. Now there's another aspect to it. Kings in Tamil Nadu came to know that the mandirs in Kashi are being destroyed. So they said that we'll create so many Kashis in Tamil Nadu that Kashi will live even if Kashi in Banarsi in UP is not there anymore. And that's why you see Shiva Kashi, Tenna Kashi, and so many Kashis in Tamil Nadu. Now, there's another aspect to it. Aurangzeb said that whichever Hindu is left in Kashi, either he converts or he pays jizya. So the worry was that either people will convert or they will leave Kashiji. So Kashiji may not have any single Hindu left there. So a king from Karnataka actually paid jizya to Aurangzeb on behalf of the Hindus of Kashi. So the mandirs, everybody and everyone across the country has tried to preserve mandirs, whether it be in Ayodhya or in Kashi or in Mathura or any part of India. And our own puja. So, we're talking of why small mandir. In North, you don't find a single big mandir. In New Delhi, the Lakshmi Narayan Mandir that Birlas built in early 1900 was a mandir of that scale built after some 400 and 500 years. There was no big mandir. People were scared. If they build, they will be killed or their money will be looted. So people were forced to build small mandirs wherever that's possible. And that trait has still remained there. So, whatever you see is happening, there is a huge civilizational reason behind it and why the way Hindus behave today are behaving related to their mandir. So to solve that, we'll have to go and solve those millennia old wounds that have been given to Hindus as far as their mandirs are concerned.
Thank you. Yeah, well explained.
If nobody else is speaking, can I take the chance to speak now?
Yeah, is there a question? Is there any study or published research as to how a
No,
temple helps
Surekha ji, please go ahead. Sorry, I was a bit.
develops the surrounding economy via multiplier effect? Just look at the Madurai temple. The whole town has been built around that mandir. And I'll give another example. When British were trying to settle Chennai, because they wanted the capital to shift from Madurai, which was the Maratha Empire was there. And because Mandir was there, they could not shift. So then they offered incentive to all the Hindu businessmen that if they come and make a mandir in Chennai, they will be getting the land free. And that's how the current Chennai was set up. Yes, questions please.
Surekaji, you still have a question?
Yeah, I don't have a question as such, but I just really want to let you know, sir, that you have really enlightened the way
Thank you. Thank you.
the way we are thinking about temples and its place in our society, how important it is, and different aspects of it, that how the economy keeps on growing. That part, I have never thought of it, of economy. One question I just have is that
Yeah.
some of the temples, big temples like Pandharpur temple, or some of these temples are, I don't know whether they are managed by government or government gives them funding. One thing I would like to say is that when I see these ministers, or so to speak, VIPs go there and try to take the attention and, opportunities for their, place in the politics, it just bothersome. And your point is really good, that mandir should be temple and the people, and not the third party come in there and destroy its way of life for thousands of years. That point is really very enlightened to me, that how things work in economics way. And thank you for that particular point, was very important to understand.
Thank you, Surekaji.
So,
Last question, please. So, Kanchanji, please go ahead.
yeah, can I add to it what ma'am just said? So I was talking to all the trustees of Mandir in Maharashtra last week. We had a program in Shirdi, and I've been telling people everywhere that whenever next election comes, ask wherever it is Sarpanch, MLA, MP election, ask the guy what he did last year for the Mandir and what he's going to do for the Mandir next year. Insist that he gives a huge statue of a bronze of a deity to the local mandir and to every voter. Whatever election commission may say, I have been forcing people that whenever somebody comes to ask you for a vote, ask him, he must give you a murti of bronze made by a Hindu sculpture to every voter. Otherwise, don't give him a vote. We need to make it a quid pro quo. What you will do for our mandir, what you will do for our murti, then only you will get vote. And I'm sure that I'm talking to people. People are agreeing to it. Someday it will become a louder voice. Yes.
Excellent. Kanchanji, please go ahead.
First of all, Sandeepji, thanks a lot. It was an enlightening subject, and your depth of knowledge really adds to our understanding on this subject. Thanks a lot for that. I will quickly present my question. As the topic said, Mandir economics, and like any other economic subject, it needs a deeper, structured study on every aspect of it, and how does one aspect affects others. Could you guide us in what is being done, how we could get those information, and how we could contribute to the study of Mandir economics, individually, institutionally, or any other way?
I think that we need to document things around our mandir. So far, unfortunately, like when I was writing this book, I was looking for books on mandir. Mostly they have been written by foreigners, and they are very expensive. They are out of bound of common man. Now I see a lot of people being writing on mandir, but there are so many mandir, so many aspects of it that needs to be documented. One. The second, that there are books which needs to reach wider audience. So that is the other part, if people can sponsor books to different school, colleges, libraries. Third, more funding is needed to carry on the research work. We need to make nice videos. We have seen some of the videos are now good. We need to create a lot of videos around it. We need to create a lot of lectures around it so that people are aware of it. So actually, whatever you want to do, in whichever direction it can be done. And as I said, if you want something specific, you can write down to me, templeeconomics@gmail.com. Very simple. And you can get the number from the organizer. So
Sure.
you can reach out to me.
No,
Thanks
thank
a
you
lot.
so much. One last question. Kanchanji, that's it, please. We are running out of time. So I'll just ask Vasudhaji, please go ahead. This is definitely the last question.
So it was wonderful. Just one suggestion I have is like all these politicians that come to the temple at the election time, why can't we ask them to help with the cleanliness of the temple and the facilities?
Yes, we need to. As I see, we must understand that what is our connect with the mandir, common man. Pujari is barely managing to survive who is there because mandir is under government control. And some of the bigger mandirs are clean nowadays, but for rest of the thing, somebody needs to go and tell what needs to be done. It's just that, and I don't blame anybody for it for not doing so far, because as a country, as a civilization, we have suffered enough. Now we have moved beyond the basic needs. Roti, kapda, or makan ke baad, we have money. Now we can take some time to think what we need to do for a mandir. So far, our father or grandfather have worked to get enough food, enough clothes to get the basic need. Government policies, license Raj were also responsible. But today the society has enough money. Hindus have enough money. And we also need to work on another aspect which I keep telling everywhere I speak, is that as a Hindu, we have a huge amount of knowledge. So from generations or from millenniums, we have been looted, we have been killed, we have been butchered, but we again rise and we raise the wealth. But that one skill, how to protect that wealth, we have not learned. We should not make this mistake again this time when we are again regrouping, rebounding, recreating wealth. Parallelly, we need to create a system which will protect this wealth. And that can only be done by having mandirs in our control, and a strong mandir will save the society.
Ji, thank you. It's just over an hour. Appreciate your talk. Appreciate your time coming on to our forum. Really eye-opening concepts and perspectives that you have given. I'm sure
Do buy
readers
my
and
book
others.
and
Other
read.
people can buy the book. Just look up Temple Economics or even Sandeep Singh ji's name on Google or Amazon, and you'll find links to the books. I've done it. Please go forward. And one request to all. I think we can read, we can study. Very important. But good thing is just start contributing directly your time to mandir development and cleanliness and all other aspects of the mandir. Join the mandir management team. They are looking for people who can serve selflessly. And I think in a decade or two, we can see a drastic change. Thank you, Sandeep Ji, for coming again. And
Thank
thank
you
you
for
everyone
giving the
for attending
opportunity.
as
Thank
well.
you, everyone.